Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here we have a great article from Seeking Alpha of the transcript of the UBS conference that Mike Sievert presented at. So I'll leave it in the description down below so you guys could check it out for those of you who may want to read the transcript. So I watched the entire presentation, the back and forth commentary, the questions, the answers, and each conference there seems to be no consistency in my honest opinion. So the commentary that Mike Sievert gave today sounded completely different than what we heard a few weeks back from Neville, right? Neville sounded more intrigued by millimeter wave. He sounded more motivated by it, that, hey, we might actually finally see this deployed for strategic purposes still, where it makes sense, right? But he sounded a bit more uplifting about millimeter wave. Today, Mike Sievert was like, we'll see, maybe, kind of, sort of. He was using that type of tone when asked about fixed wireless access and millimeter wave. So I still, myself, what I'm hearing internally and what I'm hearing at these conferences, I still think millimeter wave is going to be a very small deployment for T-Mobile, at least at first. Could that change 5 years from now? I don't know. I'm no psychic. I can't see into the future. But in the short to midterm, I have a good pulse on the situation, and I can confidently say that deployment, the way that they're trying to structure it, is going to be very small. It's going to be the type of deployment where, hey, we're seeing an uptick of usage on this sector in the neighborhood that we serve with a lot of fixed wireless access customers. So this is the sector that I want to place millimeter wave on. It's going to be that level of a strategic deployment. It's not going to be, at least I don't think, it's not going to be that type of deployment where, okay, here's $2 billion, go deploy this on 10,000 sites. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to that type of deployment. And, Neville kind of sounded like more uplifting about it, but Mike kind of seemed to have brought us back down to reality that, hey, millimeter wave is still being studied, looked at. If it makes sense, it makes sense. He's still taking that type of approach. And he also had very similar commentary when it came to the fiber story. He was asked about the articles that came out from Bloomberg, and he also said, if it makes sense, we might get into it. But if it becomes where it's a big money pit, it requires a lot of investment, we may back off, right? That's the kind of sort of commentary that he gave on that. But other than that, he sounded very confident, right? Everything is going according to plan. All the win rates, he says, about the rural situation, going into rural America with the network, the retail distribution, where they have rights to win. He says, as it stands today, he sounded so confident in his commentary that he says, as it stands today, in terms of share taking in the rural parts and them getting to 20% of rural share by 2025, Mike Sievert said that he's so confident today that if nothing else changes, if they don't add additional markets to the network in terms of growing the network in those markets, if they don't make any additional changes, learning from failures or whatever, if they leave it just the way that it is today, they will get to the 20%. And that's already covering 50% of the 775 submarkets where they believe they have a license to win competitively, meaning they have a competitive network and a competitive retail distribution. That's what that means. He kind of explained that a bit further in detail. So out of the 775 submarkets, in 50% of the 775, they believe that they have a competing network and a competing retail distribution to get to the 20% today. Not going to 70, not going to 80. He said, changing nothing, they can get to the 20% rural share by 2025. So I think that's pretty big because there's still plenty of upside to be had in this case, right? 33% is fair share between the three. So he has another 13% to go, to grow, to get to fair share. That's not any leading share. That's just getting fair share in rural United States. So very interesting commentary on that. I did like the fact that he did say a few times that we still have work to do. We still have stuff to learn. So I like that. That's not him being too cocky. That's just him saying, hey, look, we are competitive right now. We are taking share, but there's still more for us to get. There's still more that we can do. We can still get better. So that's the type of commentary that I like to hear, because they are not the best, right? They don't have the largest network. They don't have the best network. They just don't. But they are very competitive in their approach. So yes, in 2023, 2022 is almost done. In 2023, we could get more Un-carrier moves. He was asked about maybe potentially a even more premium plan that's a little more expensive, maybe with even more value. And Mike Sievert said, we're open to it. Not saying that it's going to happen, but he says they're open to looking at all of that, maybe even including more value into the Magenta Max. And he also said there is no price increase planned. So he clarified that again in today's conference. Now, could that change in the future? Of course. But for now, it seems like the prices at T-Mobile are set. And I think that's good because they, like I said in the previous video, I still think they are still a scrappy competitor. So they can't really be priced the same as Verizon and AT&T, in my honest opinion. I still think they go into rural with the idea to compete. So I think for them to take meaningful share, remain aggressive as the value leader, they have to keep pricing the way it is. And they have to take share that way. If they go into rural, price the same, for example, as Verizon, who's going to move? Nobody's going to want to switch. Why am I going to go from one to the other if it's the same price? It just makes no sense to go through that hassle if it's priced the same. So he was also asked about competitive pressure. He pretty much said, hey, I would hate to be in Hans Vestberg's shoes. They have a lot of pressure on the consumer side. And he's right. They have a lot of pressure on the consumer side. Hans knows it too. That's going to be tough. The way it stands right now, without significantly dropping the price, maybe more in line with T-Mobile, I just don't see where Hans can change the trajectory in a meaningful way on the consumer business side. I just don't see. It's Verizon consumer business. I don't see the trajectory changing. And it can't be, we grew 50,000. We grew 60,000. The market is not going to be okay with that. They're going to have to get to at least 200,000 to 300,000, maybe more, for the market to say, okay, that's fine. We take that growth. If it's 40, 50,000, they're going to say it's a very, very slow quarter. And Verizon is going to say, well, we turned it around. We went from negative to positive. So that was his commentary on the competitive side. He says, we like it. That's what we created throughout LTE. And we like the competitive pressure. And our pricing structure for the company is set to where we can defend our balance sheet. So, very interesting commentary. He did also say that they are not defending their leading share in the top 100 overall, or their fair share in the top 100. They're looking to grow that with the network that they're building out. So just take all of that in as you may think about T-Mobile and how they progress forward. They still have more work to do. Right? There's still more network they have to lay. They have to expand geographical footprint. They got to fix the indoor situation. In some cases, there's still more sites needed, period, even in the top 50 markets. So you got to take all of that into the consideration, and you got to look at it objectively. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel for more. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets for more updates and interactions. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.